Chapter 10, The Betrayal. The neon sign of the 24-hour diner flickered violently, buzzing like an angry hornet against the relentless Manila rain. Inside, the diner was empty except for a tired waitress mopping the far counter and a solitary figure sitting in the back booth. Tomas nervously spun a cold cup of black coffee between his calloused hands. Tomas was 22 years old, built like a bricklayer, and proudly carried the jagged scars of a childhood spent in the Tonda slums. He was one of the original Ascals. He had stood faithfully beside Mateo Reyes and June when they first violently seized the streets from Salazar's men. He had taken 2 bullets in the shoulder during the hotel raid against General Alves over a year ago. For his loyalty, Mateo had promoted him to head of security for the entire Quezon City distribution network. He was inner circle. Untouchable. Which made the man sitting across from him in the booth the most dangerous person Tomas could possibly be talking to. Special Agent Daniel Navarro casually stirred a packet of sugar into his tea. He didn't look like an armed federal agent. He looked like an exhausted schoolteacher in a cheap brown suit. "You're favoring your left shoulder again, Tomas," Navarro noted gently, taking a slow sip from his mug. The Vanguard Hotel was a slaughterhouse. "Mateo sent you in first, didn't he? To draw the preliminary fire from the mercenaries so he could advance safely." "I don't know what you're talking about, Agent," Tomas muttered, staring fixedly at his coffee, sticking to the standard, rehearsed lie to cover up the hotel shootout. "It's an old injury from Pasig. Construction accident." "I don't care about the hotel shootout, Tomas. Honestly, I don't. Mateo Reyes killing General Alves just saved the federal government 2 years of bureaucratic paperwork," Navarro said, leaning back. "I used to chase the shooters, Tomas. I spent 10 years chasing the boys from Tonda who pulled the trigger. It got me nowhere except a lot of funerals. Now I chase the men in the air conditioning. The men who built the machine that grinds kids like you up. I care about the systemic infection. I care about the ports. I care about the senators." Tomas didn't touch the envelope. "Then go arrest a senator." "I can't. Because your boss is currently bribing the people who sign my arrest warrants," Navarro stated simply. "But the political winds are shifting, Tomas. The president is drafting a new executive order. It's going to be a bloodbath. The NBI is going to kick down every single door in this city. And when they do, Mateo isn't going to prison. He won't make it to trial." Tomas's jaw tightened. "Mateo is a ghost. You can't catch him." Navarro tapped the envelope. "I don't need to. Look inside." Hesitantly, Tomas reached out and opened the flap. Inside were dozens of high-definition surveillance photographs. They showed Tomas's youngest brother, a 16-year-old kid named Leo, handing off heavy bricks of product to street dealers in a dark alley in Binondo. "Your brother is sloppy," Navarro said, his voice hardening slightly. "He doesn't have your survival instincts. My task force has been watching him for 3 weeks. I have enough felony distribution charges right here in this envelope to put a 16-year-old boy in the National Penitentiary for the rest of his natural life. Do you know what happens to young boys from Tonda who get locked up with the maximum security cartels?" Tomas felt the air leave his lungs. His hands started to shake. He had done all of this, the violence, the extortion, taking bullets for Mateo so his brother wouldn't have to starve in the garbage dumps. "What do you want?" Tomas whispered, his voice cracking. Navarro leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. The mild demeanor vanished, replaced by a calculated intensity. "Mateo Reyes sleeps in a guarded penthouse. He wears handmade Hong Kong suits. He drinks imported whiskey. Meanwhile, you bleed out in the rain to protect his empire, and your little brother takes all the street-level risk," Navarro said smoothly, twisting the psychological knife. "Mateo doesn't view you as a partner, Tomas. He views you as a shield. An expendable piece of meat." Tomas closed his eyes. The terrifying part wasn't the threat. The terrifying part was that Navarro was absolutely right. Ever since Paulo's execution in the Pasig warehouse, a dark, suffocating paranoia had infected the Ascals. Mateo was no longer their savior, he was a violent, unpredictable tyrant. "I want the addresses," Navarro demanded softly. "Not the street corners. Not the nightclubs. I want the actual fortresses. I want the locations of the 3 primary safehouses where you stockpile the cash before it goes to the casinos in Makati. Give me the money, Tomas. Bleed his empire dry." Tomas stared at the photographs of his little brother. His loyalty to Mateo was hardwired into his very bones. They had starved together, fought together, and built an empire from nothing. He clenched his fists, physically sickened by the thought of betraying the Ascals. The intense guilt clawed at his chest, threatening to suffocate him. But then he looked back over at the grainy photos of 16-year-old Leo, and the paralyzing, sickening fear of his little brother rotting in a max-security prison overpowered everything else. He also thought about the dead look in Mateo's eyes when he ordered June to garrote Paulo. The empire was already falling apart from the inside. "If I give you the safehouses." Tomas swallowed hard, a tear mixing with the sweat on his face. "You swear my brother walks away clean? You erase the files?" "You have my word," Navarro promised, pulling a small silver pen and a notepad from his pocket. He pushed them across the table. Tomas picked up the pen. His hand was violently trembling. In the brutal, unforgiving code of Tonda, he was committing the ultimate sin. He was betraying his blood. But as he wrote down the guarded addresses in Caloocan, Quezon City, and Pasay, Tomas convinced himself he was simply doing what Mateo had taught him to do. He was surviving. Navarro took the notepad, ripped off the page, and tucked it securely into his suit pocket. He stood up, leaving a 100-peso bill on the table to cover the coffee. "You did the right thing," Navarro said quietly. "Tell your brother to stay off the streets this weekend. The storm is coming." Tomas sat alone in the flickering diner, staring at the cold black coffee, fully aware that he had just signed the death warrants of dozens of his own men.